Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives and slips.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
That ball is gone deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline going to the end zone.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Just over a week ago, Auburn, Alabama turned from a sweet college town into a land that inhabited wilderness explorers of all sorts. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. My name is Vince Wolfram. Beginning last Tuesday night, an hour after the buzzer sounded ending the men's basketball game between Auburn and Oklahoma, the area just outside the front doors of Neville Arena turned from your typical college green space into, as we know it, Jungle Village. Hundreds of tents and even more students were packed in front of the Tigers' home court, camping out to watch number 1 Auburn take on number 6 Florida on Saturday afternoon. This was the earliest that a campout had begun at Auburn, and for good reason, as 2 Tiger Kings had helped lead their team to 14 straight wins. The first half of that duo is named Joleigh Broome. He earned a spot on the 2025 Naismith Men's Defensive Player of the Year watch list. He's been extremely dominant to this point, averaging a double-double of 18 points per game, which is second in the SEC, and almost 11 rebounds per contest, which is first in the SEC. You can find him among the top 5 in the nation in double-doubles and blocks per game as well. Right along with that, Broome was also named as one of the top 10 candidates for the 2025 Karl Malone Award. The annual award has been around for 11 years and recognizes the top power forwards in NCAA Division I men's college basketball. The other half of the honorable mentions for the Tigers, Chad Baker-Mazara, he found himself on a watch list of his own. CBM was selected as one of the 10 candidates up for the Julius Erving Award for the best small forward in the country. He's got great competition for this award with Duke's Cooper Flagg, UConn's Liam McNeely, and Rutgers' Ace Bailey, just to name a few. All those honors are great, but they don't arrive at the door without playing great on the floor. As Todd Golden in Florida came to town, the Jungle was ready, passionate, loud, and the excitement from the environment connected with the Auburn team early in this one.
Number 1 versus number 6, this was gearing up to be an SEC headliner. Early in the first, Tigers got out to a quick 10-point lead, and they looked like the team that had won 14 straight games, with energy boosts from Joleigh Broome and Chad Baker-Mazara. But Florida did not back down.
We were able to withstand a little rush early in the game, which we knew we were going to see, and over the last 36 minutes of the game, I thought we were just about as good as you can be in an environment like this.
Florida guard Walter Clayton Jr.'s scoring ability worked like a magic eraser, being that Auburn's lead had vanished by the end of the first half.
Clayton was tremendous. Our game plan defensively was to try to get the ball out of his hands, and after the first couple possessions, you would never know that was our game plan. We did it the first couple possessions, and then we stopped doing it.
Auburn did battle back for a moment in the second half. Miles Kelly and company cut what was a 21-point Gator lead down to 9 with 8 minutes to go. However, the Tigers had a tough time scoring the basketball, making less shots from the field, the line, and the arc than Florida, and scoring just 46% on layups.
We missed a lot of shots inside. A lot of 2-point baskets. We'll go back and look at it and go, golly, in a big game, you got to make them.
Pearl's reasoning for the game going in Florida's favor was very simply put.
We did not look like the number 1 team in the country. We didn't act like the number 1 team in the country. We didn't prepare like it. And as a result, we got beat.
Final score, Florida 90, Auburn 81. Next for the Tigers, a trip to Nashville to play in Memorial Gymnasium against the Vanderbilt Commodores. For Eagle Eye TV Sports, I'm Vince Wolfram.
Despite the loss in Neville Arena on Saturday, when the polls showed up in our inboxes on Monday at noon, Auburn was staying put. The Tigers remained the number 1 seed in the AP poll with their absurd number of quad 1 victories and wins against ranked opponents rising above just a singular loss. And that was the team's second of the season, first coming against Duke on December 4th. As we take a look at the rest of the ranked teams this week, I want to bring in our Micah Farmer to break it down with me here. Micah, 4 of the top 5 teams are from the SEC. Toughest conference, the toughest the conference has been in ages, and certainly you could vouch for the toughest the conference has been ever. What do you make of the load at the top of the SEC teams in the rankings?
Well, the thing that stands out initially is all these teams can win different ways.
Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, they've all played a lot of very good teams. They have great wins. You mentioned all of Auburn's quad one wins. Alabama also has the win over Houston, Florida, with obviously the win over Auburn here in Neville Arena. And then Tennessee's been playing great basketball all season too. So just the variety of teams you have up there from the SEC, I think, really drives it home that this isn't a one-dimensional league where you just have a bunch of teams that score 100 every night or a bunch of teams that will hold you to 12 points. Everyone can win in different ways, and that's what makes this conference so good.
Yeah, a lot of moving and shaking in the top 25. What's one team whose position in the rankings sort of surprised you?
Well, I think one team that's going to surprise a lot of people with where they are is Texas A&M, and I think that's just because no one is talking about them, and I don't know why. They sit in the back half of the top 10 right now. They just took down Missouri at Missouri thanks to a dagger from Wade Taylor IV, and this is one of the better teams in college basketball. I think if you stick this team in the ACC, they're right up there with Duke at the top of that league, and they're near the top of the SEC as well. They just are not getting the love because they are the 5th highest ranked team in their own conference. So watch out for the Aggies. I think they're definitely going to make some noise down the stretch.
Yeah, and my pick for this one, the team that surprised me, it just surprised me how low they were, actually just fell to the Villanova Wildcats and Eric Dixon. That would be St. John's. I thought Rick Pitino had that team on a great trajectory, but a tough one tonight for St. John's. And good thing that all these rankings are subject to change with a new week, because another Tuesday-Wednesday slate of games is certainly upon us. Auburn in the Tuesday night slot, traveling to Nashville to take on a Vanderbilt team that had beaten ranked Tennessee and ranked Kentucky on its home floor this season. Not an easy place to play, but the Tigers entered confidently, and they had Auburn North on its side. Here's Maddie Baughn with the story.
Welcoming the Tigers back to the brightest stage in college basketball, the Vanderbilt Commodores host Auburn for an SEC showdown at Memorial Gymnasium. Although the Commodores own the edge in the all-time series, Auburn is holding down 7 of the 8 last meetings. A win for the Tigers would mean a rebound for Bruce Pearl and team as they come off of their 2nd loss of the season. But a win for the Commodores would mark their 5th top 10 takedown this season.
A 12-point win over Vanderbilt still posed to be a tightrope contest for the Tigers. The matchup began with a quick lead, getting the Tigers to a comfortable position, but the Commodores utilized their turnover game for a steady play of catch-up. A 15-2 scoring run for Vanderbilt led the two teams to be separated by 1 score and set Auburn up for a tough second-half position. However, the man of the hour kept the Tigers afloat. With a season-high first-half for senior guard Denver Jones, 12 of his 14 first-half points came from shots on the outside for 3, marking 4 out of his season-high 5 tonight. In the second half, he was able to close out his performance with another 3-pointer and 21 points total. A strong Vanderbilt team kept toe-to-toe with the Tigers, but Denver's counterpart, Kenny Johnson, was not going to let that upset happen. Holding down the second half against the Commodores, he had his own 9-0 scoring run and finished the night with a 20-point performance. 16 points in the second half alone, Johnson took the Tigers' 1-point deficit to an 8-point lead. Less than 10 minutes left to play, and the Tigers extend their lead by double digits with the help of Tahad Pettiford. A solid shot on the outside with the trip to the line put Pettiford at a 4-point play. A quiet night for Janai Boone, but not an unsuccessful one. A late start to the scoring game, he ended the night with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks to keep the Tigers 6-0 in SEC road games.
Your final score tonight in Memorial Gymnasium, Auburn takes the win 80-68. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Maddie Baughn.
Bruce Pearl after the game talked about the early 15-0 run, Vanderbilt's comeback, and great performances from Denver and Chaney Johnson.
That was a really good win against a really good basketball team. Mark's done a tremendous job. I enjoyed our preparation. I enjoyed watching, his team play, the way they've played, the way they've competed. Out of respect for Vanderbilt and their coaching staff and the way they do things, you could tell that we were ready. You could tell that this game had all of our focus and got off to a great start. We stopped guarding a little bit there in the first half, and that was an issue. Our identity, and one of the things that got us off to such a good start, I think, this year was we really started to take pride on how we would guard and get stops, turn people over. It's a long season. It's a grind, and I think that we've lost a little bit of that edge. We got to try to get that edge back a little bit. Took good care of the ball. They turned you over 15 times. We only turned it over 8, only 2 in the second half. Denver was brilliant in the first half, carrying us. A great bounce-back game after the Florida game where he didn't shoot it very well. He's a scorer, and even though he's handling the ball, he needs to score. And Chaney Johnson was rewarded as our hardest worker. He is our hardest worker. All those moves down there at the basket, nobody is in the gym more than Chaney Johnson, working on those moves, perfecting those moves. And he obviously had an advantage on the inside and took full advantage, 9 for 10. That's hard to do. So I think overall it was a good effort and a great win.
Micah, you were in Nashville on Tuesday night at the game. Chaney Johnson, Denver Jones, they packed Auburn's bags in this game and drove them all the way to the victory in the end. What did you see from the Tigers in this one?
Well, this might sound a bit harsh, but what I saw was a team that might have gotten bailed by 2 season-high caliber performances from Chaney Johnson and Denver Jones. Without those 2 guys, Auburn is way up the creek without a paddle. They were getting beat on the glass, felt like, for a lot of this game. Denver Jones in the first half and the middle of this game, and then Chaney Johnson taking over on that solo 9-0 run in the second half. Without that, Janai Broome had 2 points in the first half, really struggled. Chad Baker-Mazar, I know, is super banged up right now, but also obviously struggled to get things going. And it just felt like Auburn was searching for scoring other than those 2 guys and struggled to find it. And when you give up a lot of second chance points like the Tigers have done the past couple games, you're going to be in that situation a lot. So that's something I think Auburn needs to improve upon quickly before the Iron Bowl of basketball this Saturday.
Yeah, DJ and CJ certainly had great games, but you add in Auburn North, and that really helped the Tigers come out with a win too. How loud was it last night at Vanderbilt, and could you tell the crowd making a little bit of a difference up there in Nashville?
Well, in short, loud. And yes, the Auburn crowd definitely made a difference. I would say it felt like a neutral site game, almost a 50-50 split, although I do have to say the crowd pops for Auburn were a bit louder than the crowd pops for Vandy. I don't know if that's just because of where I was sitting or what, but that Auburn crowd was making themselves heard, and it's great to be an Auburn Tiger chants at the end of the game were nearly deafening.
Yeah, it's always a good thing when you get that at the end of the games, and they're going to have to keep that up, because up next for Auburn is a trip just across the way to Tuscaloosa, Alabama for a duel between number 1 and number 2. And I guess, Micah, depending on what poll and rankings you go by, a duel between number 1 and number 2, with Auburn being 1 in the AP poll and Alabama being number 1 in the coaches poll. College game day will be there. The environment is going to be so rowdy. What does Auburn have to do to come out victorious in this game?
Well, I think Auburn really has to stay locked in on the glass. I know I just mentioned it regarding this Vanderbilt game, but if you give up those second chance points, if you give up those offensive rebounds, you might be in for a long day in Coleman. I think you're really going to have to improve that. And then perimeter defense is huge versus Alabama. Broadcasters always mention Nate Oates is going to bench you if you don't shoot an open 3. Just ask Mark Sears about earlier this season. And that does happen. So if you're leaving guys open from outside, I don't care who it is, they're going to take 3. So you have to defend out there and still be able to get inside and defend the boards.
Yeah, these matchups are pretty parallel too. Great guard play, tough bigs. What are some matchups that you're most looking forward to in the IBOB, Iron Bowl of basketball?
Well, the one that stands out to me immediately is down low again. It is Grant Nelson on Janai Broome. Janai Broome has had some good games when you look at just the points column the last 2 times out, but he's had a couple rough halves in there. First half versus Florida, first half versus Vanderbilt. Some rough times for Janai, and I think if you get off to that slow start, you could be in trouble versus Grant Nelson, who, despite the mustache, can play some excellent basketball down there. Then you look out at the perimeter. Denver Jones on Mark Sears. When Mark Sears has the basketball, I am so looking forward to watching that. Denver Jones, one of the better defensive guards in the country up against Sears, who it feels like can make shots from anywhere when he's on. And then finally, the guy that Auburn fans are familiar with, it's Aiden Holloway in that third spot for me on this graphic. And I know he struggled at times last year on the Plains, but he's found a shot in Tuscaloosa. He is the 3rd leading scorer for the Crimson Tide this season, and if you focus all your energy on Mark Sears and Holloway gets open shots, he will make you pay.
Yeah, certainly. 3 great matchups there, and a couple that Auburn fans have gotten pretty used to seeing over the last couple years. Plenty of Auburn sports to come up next on this program, and if you're getting out to see any games this weekend, don't you worry. Mr. Miami 2 times, Albert Osorio, will be here when we return with your weather.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Albert Osorio, here to give you your weather outlook of the week. Auburn baseball is set to take on Holy Cross in their opening weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Equestrian and women's tennis will also be happening on the Plains on Saturday as they take on South Carolina and Kansas State. Friday seems to have mostly sunny skies with highs up to 60 and lows down to 36. while Saturday expects cloudy skies with highs up to 68 and lows down to 47. Sunday will see a 60% chance of rain with highs up to 65 and lows down to 36. Rain will likely not be an issue this weekend as they will occur overnight on Sunday, but it is going to get a bit colder during baseball at night, so bring a coat or jacket if possible. Also, if you are traveling to Tuscaloosa on Saturday to see the #1 ranked Tigers battle the #2 Crimson Tide in perhaps the biggest college basketball game so far this season, expect cloudy skies with highs up to 71 and lows down to 50 with a chance of rain and thunderstorms up to 65%. That's all I have for you tonight. When we come back, you will hear from our anchors regarding women's basketball, baseball, and softball. Once again, I'm Albert Osorio, and you're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Thank you, Albert. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. We got about 50% of the Auburn hoops knocked out so far, if you can believe that. Maddie Baughn is in the studio to talk Coach Jay and the Lady Tigers, who battled it out in a close one last night. And Brooks Crew and Kegan Miller are with us as well, taking swings for softball and baseball. Maddie, Brooks, Keegs, take it away.
Thank you, Vince. Daona Gaston is making the nation take notice. Frequently the top scorer for the Tigers and a record setter, Gaston has now been added to the midseason top 10 for the Katrina McLean Award, as well as being on the watch list for the Women's All-Star Basketball game. Catching up with the rest of the Lady Tigers, the team was able to find a win at home against Texas A&M with a final score of 65-52. Not only celebrating a crucial home win, Marshawn Bostic was able to celebrate her first career double-double.
Black History Month kickoff game tonight in Neville Arena, where the Tigers hosted the Texas A&M Aggies. After a trip to the #2 Gamecocks, the team returned to the Plains more motivated than ever. A hard-fought 66-83 loss became proof that this team could dominate everywhere else. And Auburn accomplished just that tonight. 4 players scoring in double figures, with the highest lead over the Aggies being 24 points and a 10-0 scoring run in the second quarter. It was just the beginning for this team. The Tigers held a lead for 36 out of the 40 minutes played, with 19 points earned on turnovers. The main drive behind this defense was guard Marshawn Bostic. Bostic saw her first career double-double, 10 assists and 10 points, almost reaching that triple-double with 7 steals. That's the most steals by an Auburn Tiger since 2019. Have yourself a night, Marshawn. Texas A&M lacking that necessary paint presence with only 18 points scored within that key area near the basket, while Auburn dominated with an impressive 40 points on the paint. Gaston, who's just announced as a top 10 candidate for Power Forward of the Year, is on the mid-season top 10 list for the Katrina McLean Award and is on the watch list for the College Women's All-Star Game, came into tonight's game as the 8th leading scorer in the country. Tonight, she led the Tigers in points with a total of 18. Once again, making sure her teammates can find her so that she can continue to lead this offense. She stresses the importance of preparation and stated that she shows up prepared and makes sure she is prepared at every game. A couple honorary mentions for tonight's win. Coach Jay was impressed with Kai Milton off the bench, tying the lead in rebounds and 2 for 2 from the field. Don't worry, the buzz on Yuting Dong has not stopped. A part of the starting 5 on the hardwood, she made a 3-pointer and also gave Taylor Collins a backwards behind-the-head assist for a Tiger 2. Tonight marked the 3rd straight home win in SEC play for the Tigers with the final of 65-52. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Maddie Baughn.
The Tigers traveled to their first SEC meeting at Oklahoma with a win under their belt, but ended the night with a heartbreaker. A fourth quarter comeback featured 14 points from Daona Gaston. She opened the quarter with her own 9-0 scoring run. Adding a layup from Bostic, the Tigers were in the lead for the first time. However, the Sooners were able to get away in the final 2 minutes, settling the score 73-71. The Tigers take a quick turnaround trip to Tennessee for the number 15 Volunteers tomorrow night. Finishing out the week on their home court, Auburn women's basketball will host Vanderbilt for a College Vault throwback game on Sunday. Taking it to the Diamond, Brooks has more on softball.
Thank you, Maddie. Auburn softball has quickly put the league on notice this week after an incredibly strong start. First-year co-head coaches Chris and Katie Malvo have begun their Tigers tenure with a perfect 5-0 record, including wins over North Carolina, Southern Illinois, and Appalachian State. The Tigers began their season with a Friday doubleheader, posting a dominant 6-1 win over Southern Illinois, followed immediately by an 8-1 victory over North Carolina to close out opening day. The Malvo's Tigers weren't done yet, though. With Saturday came another doubleheader. The Tigers were taken to 9 innings by App State in that day's opener, and though they were able to hold on and sneak out a victory before beating Southern Illinois 9-7. After such a close, hard-fought Saturday, the Tigers were ready to have a statement Sunday, and boy did they. The Malveaux squad blew out North Carolina in their second matchup, mercy ruling the Tar Heels with an 11-1 score in just 5 innings. Senior infielder Nelia Peralta was absolutely dominant in the Tigers' opening weekend, posting a ridiculous, wait for it, 611 batting average with 10 runs batted in, 3 home runs, and 2 doubles in what I'll remind you was just 5 games. This hard-to-believe stat line earned the former number 6 recruit in the nation a well-deserved SEC Player of the Week award. The Tigers will look to continue this forward momentum at the Shriners Children's Clearwater Invitational this weekend, as they'll play Clemson on Thursday, Virginia and UCF in a doubleheader on Friday, Charlotte and Oklahoma State, another doubleheader on Saturday, and Liberty on Sunday. Now, we're going to swing it on over to Kegan for a baseball preview.
Thank you, Brooks. And Maddie, Micah, Vincent Brooks, can you smell what the Plains are cooking? That's right, the popcorn, the Cracker Jack, the freshly cut grass, and my personal favorite, the pine tar, which I think Micah uses as his cologne scent. But that's right, baseball season is finally here. All the anticipation, all the excitement, we can all rejoice because it's finally upon us. So now let's talk Auburn baseball, right here in our backyard. The Tigers are looking to bounce back from a year with many ups and downs, where the offense seemed to stay afloat at the top of the SEC, but the pitching was a little shaky, and the team ultimately missed out on last year's SEC tournament. Auburn hopes that their offseason additions and incoming freshmen can step up and solidify both the rotation and the bullpen. Florida transfer Cade Fisher and freshman Christian Chatterson lead this charge and are names you'll need to get used to hearing. But now let's talk about some names you already are used to hearing. Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray were both named to the preseason All-SEC team, and Irish even landed himself on the Golden Spikes Award watch list. Irish will continue to catch for the Tigers after taking the role over full-time last season when he led the team with a .319 batting average and 14 home runs. But now the preseason is pretty much over. Now it's time to put rubber to the pavement and throttle down. Auburn opens their season this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against Holy Cross in a 3-game series and host Troy next Tuesday for their first midweek matchup of the season. All these games are home at Plainsman Park, which was recently renovated, so go check out the new team, new stadium, while taking in America's pastime. That's all I have for you today, but I'll be back all season for more baseball action and updates. Vince, swing it on to gymnastics.
Appreciate you, Kegan, Maddie, Brooks, Kegan. You guys rocked as always. I know I can smell it. The popcorn's right there. Cameraman Chaz did say he can't smell it. He's got a sinus infection. It's all right, though. We're balling. He said he's ready for baseball. We're all very excited. And I love having a packed studio where we all can sit here and just talk ball. It's great stuff. We're about to go to break, but I want to keep you on your toes while we do so. So I have a gymnastics trivia question that is sure to confuse your brains. Which former Auburn gymnast is working to become, yes, I said it, a WWE superstar? A, Darian Goborn, B, Aria Bruce, C, Courtney Puckett, or D, Suni Lee? We'll have the answer when we return. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn, and I know all of you viewers definitely Googled the answer already. That's cheating. Good try. The answer to the gymnastics trivia question is letter A, Darian Goborn. Now listen, so at Auburn, she was the queen. 7-time All-Star. She won 7-time All-American. She won Auburn's first national championship in a vault as a freshman in 2019. And now she is part of the WWE Evolve class, which is a group that features up-and-coming WWE wrestlers who are trying to find their way up to the main rosters in the sport. That is tough. We will have a show. They'll have a show coming up soon on Tubi about this WWE group. And Auburn family, if you want to stay tuned with Darian Goborn, you can find her under the name Chantel Monroe when she competes. How cool is this story? Graceful, powerful gymnast turned body-slamming, aspiring WWE star. Power of sports. Just so cool. Auburn gymnastics, tennis, and golf have all been achieving at the highest levels of late. Lots of records, lots of wins, and a lot of updates on the way from Maddie and Brooks. Maddie, we'll start with you. Gymnastics, their season is in full effect, and you have been up front and in the mix.
Holding on to a spot in the AP poll, Jeff Graba and his number 12 Tigers hosted another SEC and ranked program last Friday with a visit from the Georgia Bulldogs. A neck-and-neck meet came to the final routine of the night from Sophia Groth. The Dancing Queen finished with a career best of 9.95 on floor, giving the Tigers the 1/10 of the point win over the Dogs. The Deep South's oldest rivalry makes its way to Neville Arena for military appreciation for Auburn gymnastics. The number 7 Georgia Bulldogs are coming off of a home win and will pose a tough competition for the Tigers. The Tigers, who just traveled to Kentucky, were handed with a loss and an injury. Fifth-year senior Olivia Hollingsworth ruptured her Achilles and is out for the rest of the season. Jeff Graba and team will have to rely on the depth of their freshman and sophomore athletes, plus the roar of the jungle to make the upset happen tonight.
This down to the final routine meet opened with Auburn trailing from their efforts on vault, with Shoemaker and Hubbard leading the lineup with 9.875s each. The first rotation saw a Bulldog lead with strong sticks on bars. Transfer Alex Irvin holding down the leading spot for the Tigers with her event title score of 9.95 on bars. She states hitting her handstands was the determining factor in her score. All Auburn athletes received a 9.8 or better, which pushed the Tigers to the lead after the second rotation. Zankin and Gross 9.9s on beam were not enough to compete with Georgia's 3 consecutive 9.9s on floor. The Tigers head into their floor routines with a 1/10 of a point trail. Jeff Graba stated that he has a lot of confidence in this Tigers floor squad, and rightfully so. Zankin opened with a 9.9, Bell tied her career high with a 9.925, and Greaves scored her new career best at 9.9. In the anchor spot, Sophia Groth is back on the mat after a rest week. Tonight, she's faced with insane pressure of breaking the tie to secure the win. A near-perfect routine led Groth to a season-best score of 9.95 that put the Tigers on top and the event title. The Bulldogs head home with a record season high score of 197.2, while Groth and the Tigers celebrate their 197.3.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Maddie Baughn. After leading the Tigers to victory with her floor routine, senior Sophia Groth spoke to the media about clinching the win for her team and the emotions of being in the anchor spot for the meet.
I occasionally looked up at the scoreboard throughout the meet, but I didn't know that the score was tied going into my routine. And, you know, that's something that Jeff stresses to us a lot, is that we can't control the score. So I just knew that I had the same task at hand as I have every other week, and I just had to do what I knew how to do, and I did that, and that was the result. So that was really exciting. It means everything. I have been working for a moment like this my entire career, and I had to do a double take at the lineup last night when it came out, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe they're just not putting me on floor this week. That's okay. And being out last week, I was just wanting to contribute in any way I could. And I saw my name in the anchor spot, and I audibly gasped. I was like walking by the concourse, and people stopped and were like, is that girl okay? So it was just really special to be in that anchor spot, and just to know that what I put in and the work I put in has paid off, and I got to be that clutch routine for our team.
Remains at number 12 ahead of their road test in Gainesville for a matchup against the number 3 Florida Gators. Brooks with the racket on tennis up next.
Thanks, Maddie. Auburn women's tennis competed in the ITA National Team Indoor in Illinois this past weekend. The number 10 Tigers began their weekend with an upset over number 4 Stanford in a series of increasingly impressive matches. Ava Esposito and Maria Garcia began Auburn doubles with a 3-1 lead, but then the Stanford pair clawed back and took a 4-3 lead, but that didn't seem to faze the Tigers much, as they went on to win all of their next 3 games, sealing their first win. They weren't out of the woods yet, though, as after Stanford responded with a top doubles win, Auburn's Angela Okatoy and Myrna Rafat were forced to flex their clutch muscles in a tight 7-5 tiebreaker match to claim their second doubles point. After impressive singles showing from Esposito and Okatoy, it was finished. Auburn had upset the 4th-ranked team in the nation 4-1. The next day, the Tigers dropped their first loss of the season, losing 4-1 to the number 1 ranked team in the country, Georgia. The Tigers bounced back quickly, though, dispatching North Carolina with a strong 4-1 win to wrap up the tournament. The women's team will look to continue to regain momentum and preserve their near-perfect record as they take on Kansas State this Saturday. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about the men's team? Well, the men's team didn't actually play this week, but they've surely spent the time off preparing for Saturday's doubleheader against FGCU. Now, I'll send it right back to Maddie for some track and field.
All Auburn, all honors this week as we continue into track and field. Jacoby Thorpe, your 2024 SEC hurdle champion and record holder for Auburn 110-meter hurdles, is settling into his sophomore season as a part of the Bowerman men's mid-indoor watch list. So far, Thorpe has posted a 7.6 time in the 60-meter hurdles for indoor season. On Tuesday, indoor track and field rankings were released, which put the men's indoor team at number 20 after the Track Tigers traveled to Texas this past weekend for the Charlie Invitational in College Station. On the women's side, Mara Hewalt taking gold for her 4th time this season in the weight throw competition. Hewalt even breaking the facility record. Another event win for the Tigers, Kyle Brown throwing for 21.22 meters in the weight throw, claiming the first overall. Next stop for the Tigers is the Tiger Paul Invitational in Clemson, South Carolina, this Friday through Saturday. Some triathletes will also make their way to Boston this Friday for the Boston University Valentine Invitational. Updates from the course, here's Brooks.
Thank you, Maddie. The Auburn men's golf team put up a substantial showing in the Ameri Ari Invitational in Hawaii this past weekend, finishing 4th behind 9th-ranked Oklahoma State, 6th-ranked North Carolina, and 5th-ranked Texas. The 3rd-ranked Tigers were led by Carson Baca and Ryan Eschleman, who shot 18 under and 15 under par, respectively. Star sophomore Jackson Koiven wasn't far behind either, shooting a strong 14 under on a progressively improving 69, 67, 66 series. True freshman Billy Davis, though playing independently from the Tigers in this one, recorded a hole-in-one on the 14th hole on his way to shooting 65, 5th best in the tournament in that day's play. Auburn's own Carson Baca set a school record in this tournament. As mentioned, the former preseason All-American finished with a staggering 18 under par for the tournament, the best the school has ever seen. Billy Davis, the latest SEC Player of the Week, told me that, quote, Carson is the hardest worker on the team. Doesn't surprise me that he's playing so good, end quote. While 2-time Player of the Week and Ben Hogan Award watch list member Josiah Gilbert told me that, quote, Billy and Baca have been playing really good, so we're just feeding off their energy. The team is doing really, really well in terms of getting ready to win another national championship this spring, end quote. Coming up for the men's team is a well-deserved break until March, while the women's team will hit the road again to take on Louisville in the Moon Golf Invitational. The tournament will be played in Melbourne, Florida from Sunday the 16th to Tuesday the 18th. Now, once again, back to Maddie for some swim and dive.
The last competition before SEC Swim and Dive Championships was held this past Friday and Saturday on the Plains. The number 14 men's team featured a top 10 performance from Danny Schmidt, coming in at 7th with a 133.67 in the 200 free. Another top 10 from the number 14 women's team, Olivia Deinhardt takes 10th in the 100 breaststroke with a 59.90. A few more positives from the weekend. Andrew Simmons set his fastest time of the season in the back with a 142.74. To close out the weekend, 4 Auburn women saw a sub-50 in the 100 free. Next for the Tigers, a trip to Athens Monday the 17th through Saturday the 22nd for the SEC Championships. Auburn Equestrian faced 2 meets this past weekend at home as they hosted Minnesota Crookston and UT Martin. The number 1 Tigers opened their homestand with a 19-0 shutout against Minnesota Crooks. Then on Saturday, Auburn faced UT Martin for the 2nd time this season. A tougher competition, but the Tigers remain undefeated after a victory over the Skyhawks 11-6. You can catch the Tigers at the Auburn Equestrian Center again this Saturday as they host the number 8 South Carolina Gamecocks. Back to the desk.
Brooks, Maddie, thank you very much. And for our trivia question before this break, we're going to take it from college to the pros. We're going to do some NBA trivia, so let's do it. Which member of Auburn's Final Four men's basketball team was recently signed to an NBA roster? A, Jared Harper, B, Chuma Okeke, C, Bryce Brown, or D, Malik Dunbar? We'll have the answer when we come back. Welcome back. We've got the answer to the NBA trivia question I left you with before the break. Let's take a look. Which member of Auburn's Final Four men's basketball team was recently signed to an NBA roster? The answer, is letter B. Chuma Okeke. Just after the trade deadline passed, the Philadelphia 76ers signed Okeke to a 10-day contract. Previously, he was on the Westchester Knicks, the New York Knicks G League affiliate, and was having quite the year, averaging 16 points in just 33 games. Before the Knicks, he had been with the Orlando Magic for 5 seasons after getting drafted by them with the 16th overall pick in 2019, but missed his entire rookie season due to injury, and his career has been up and down since because of those injuries. As Okeke moves to Philly now to help a roster that has been riddled with injuries to this point in the season, he is certainly looking to step up for them. And across the association, there are some other former Auburn Hoopers that have been sidelined due to injury troubles, and Micah Farmer is here to tell us more. Micah?
Yeah, Vince, Jabari Smith Jr. has been sidelined since New Year's Day with a left hand injury, although it is predicted that he's going to be cleared sometime during the All-Star break. Then Isaac Okoro suffered a shoulder injury on January 16th and is probably going to be cleared sometime after the break. So 2 Auburn players on the mend currently right there.
Yeah, and outside of just injuries too, there's one former Auburn big fella that's been opening some NBA eyes with his play so far this year.
Yeah, Smooth Jazz is back. It's Walker Kessler who put up 19 points and 22 rebounds against the Phoenix Suns and their new all-time leading scorer, Devin Booker. Kessler is next in action against the Los Angeles Lakers, who I heard made a trade. Did you hear about that, Vince?
I did hear that. It's something involving Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that was the most notable player involved there.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Something on the rumor mill. Little birdie told me. But good news in the NBA when Walker Kessler is playing well. And at this point in the show, I know you're probably wondering what happened to the football news. Well, the season is over. It ended in the best way possible, and I don't just mean that my Philadelphia Eagles walked away victorious in absolutely dynasty-destroying, dominating fashion, but more so that a couple of Auburn players got recognized because of it. For Auburn tight end C.J. Uzomah and O-lineman Jack Driscoll, they both got Super Bowl rings with the Eagles last Sunday night. 2 huge accomplishments for these former Auburn studs, reaching the pinnacle of the football world. Congrats to these 2 guys, and I guess we're Eagles, right? Those 2 go together. Send our Eagles up there and they do their thing. So they work in a pair there. That'll count. I know Darius Slayton didn't win the Super Bowl this year, but he won an award that's of great importance as well. Slayton was named the 2025 Alan Page Community Award recipient by the NFL Players Association. He donated $50,000 during the holiday season to support 24 families in need, and worked with the New York Police Department to celebrate these families. As a result of winning the award and recognizing the gestures made by Slayton, the NFLPA is donating $100,000 to the Left Hand, Right Hand Foundation. Great stuff there from the New York Giant wideout, making a difference for those around him. In some more NFL news, the NFL Combine is quickly approaching, and Micah Farmer is literally the NFL draft genie, and he's got a couple of Auburn Tigers that found out this week that the Combine is their next destination.
Yeah, Vince, I've heard a lot of talk recently after the end of football season that, oh, it's basketball season, it's baseball season, from some people even, it's NASCAR season. Everyone's wrong. It is NFL draft season right now, and it starts with the Combine. 4 Auburn Tigers have been invited. Those would be linebacker Eugene Asante, edge rusher Jalen McLeod, wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, and then running back Jarquez Hunter. Now, when I was a kid, if someone gave me a Combine invite, I thought I would be going to a farm. But that isn't where these guys are going. The Indianapolis-based event is a way, though, for them to plant the seed in the head of some NFL GMs that this is a future cornerstone for their franchise.
Yes, certainly. And we are very excited for these former Auburn players to get a chance at their dreams of playing in the NFL. Micah is the man behind the draft boards, and you're ready to talk about the NFL potential of a running back that just means so much to the Auburn family.
Yeah, it's Jarquez Hunter. He is the first Auburn player we're going to be spotlighting here. I'm going to do this every week for each Auburn player entering the draft. And with Hunter, what stands out immediately is the contact balance. He really rarely goes down at first contact. Great at keeping the legs moving. Also, his vision behind the line of scrimmage can pick a hole, and then it says on the screen there, cut and go. Once he picks that hole, his foot is in the ground, and he is gone, off to the races. As far as some potential weaknesses, he's a bit of a smaller back, listed by Auburn at 5'10", 209, and while that isn't tiny, we're not talking Deuce Vaughn here, it's also obviously not Derrick Henry. So a couple concerns about maybe not a true bell cow for an NFL team, but then also you look at a rotational player, especially for running backs, a lot of times they'll come in on third down, be that kind of pass blocker, and Jarquez, probably his weakest area of his game is his pass protection. Will struggle there at times. However, I think he is such a good player. His skills as a runner are so good that that's going to outweigh the potential downsides for NFL teams. I do think he's drafted, I would expect, probably the 3rd or 4th round, and I think the best fits for him are the Minnesota Vikings, the New York Giants, and the Las Vegas Raiders, 3 teams that could use a running back pretty badly.
Certainly a lot of potential in number 27 in the orange and blue threads. Micah, thank you so much for your NFL analysis. We're very much looking forward to it over the next couple weeks leading up to the draft. But before we go, Trending Tigers is here. It's everybody's favorite segment, and today we're going to break down some men's basketball fits. So you got the top 5 fits of the week. These guys came in swagging. I'm bringing Maddie in on this one. She's the fashionista. Let's get it started with number 5. We're going to take a look here at Tahad Pettiford. Now, Maddie, I think this fit is pretty simple. It's sly. He's got the jeans. He's got the no flaws t-shirt. I think it's cool. I'll give it like 8 out of 10. It's a cool little Tahad fit.
Yeah, I think when you go 1 for 1 on the free throw line, you can obviously flaunt no flaws.
True.
So he gets an A in my book.
Okay, he's 1 for 1 on the free throw line and in the fits category as well. Number 4, we're going to Drake Cardwell, the younger brother of Dylan. He always comes in with some sort of swag, and it's a little different. And I like this one. It's a little calmer fit for him. He's got what looks kind of like a flannel, little design going on there. I like what Drake Cardwell's got going on here. What do you think?
I think he wore this for warm-ups against Vanderbilt.
I wouldn't be shocked. That guy is calm, cool, and collected. Looks awfully warm in that one. So I'm going to give him a good grade on that one. I like Drake's fit. Super low-key from Drizzy there. Number 3, we're going to go to Ja'Kai Howard. Dr. Duncanstein here. I like the pink here. He's got the pink accents on the t-shirt, matching the zip-up jacket. It gets an A for me. I'm loving the pink. I'm all about this Ja'Kai Howard fit.
This is one of my favorites so far. I think the jacket really adds something.
Definitely does. And when you're dunking the ball like he is, you can probably do anything with swag anything with the color pink like that. Number 2, we're going to go to the freshest guy on his first day of high school. Presley Patterson, repping the shirt that says, "Don't act like you're not impressed." Presley with a good little word play there. He's my guy, so I'm going to rattle him a little bit. It does look like he just began high school. Just a little bit.
I think he's taking the minimalist look to a whole nother level here.
You know what, though? It's a basketball guy look. He's just repping the sneakers, no little low sock action, black sweats. Looks like he's getting ready to travel for a game. Plus, I'll give him bonus points for the hand gestures, too. He's usually a thumbs-up guy, maybe a little less than that. All right, number 1, I mean, goodness gracious, you just cannot beat it. Tell me you're from Atlanta without really telling me you're from Atlanta. Well, Miles Kelly just spoke every language that.
Yeah, as you said before the show, it looks like he is the Fresh Prince of ATL.
Yeah, you are not kidding. Every bit of Atlanta is present in this one. He's got the dewy, he's got the green on. It's full 2000s fit. I thought I was looking at Allen Iverson there for a minute. Miles Kelly taking the cake at number 1. This has been Sports Night in Auburn for this week, but your work audience members is not over just yet. Make sure you follow our Eagle Eye TV Sports Instagram and subscribe to our Eagle Eye TV YouTube page to keep up with us over the next couple of months as we bring you awesome stuff. For my great team, our producer JoJo Cavanagh, I'm Vince Wolfram. We'll see you next week. We've been working on this one. Good night and
War Eagle.
Oh, we did it.